Good morning. You're listening to Maree Gifkins at the Foot Bliss program. So today we're going to have an interesting topic and the mysterious part of Maree and the mysteries of Maree. So the Foot Bliss program, I should talk about feet first, shouldn't I? So I do specialise in the feet and have been for about 23 years, and we're dealing with the structure part of the foot. So flat feet, high arches, twisted toes, bunions, all those structural things that can go wrong with the feet when you twist your ankles and start to have issues with your feet and it doesn't feel so comfortable. Maybe the bunions are starting to give you a bit of grief and it's so hard to find shoes. And so it's working on all those bone alignment in the feet, so bringing them back slowly, bit by bit, so that then you stand more correctly, and then as you're standing more correctly, the bones are moving back, then that can take the pressure off the knees, the hips, the back, the neck, and so forth. So it becomes like a dominoes effect all the way through. So I get about 95% success with the feet, and it lasts. It's not like you have to come in every month. Once we've done that initial treatments with the feet, they should hold themselves, and it's only if you have a fall or a twist or something happens that you might need to come in and have a little bit of an extra top up. And so it's a nice and easy treatment and a nice, simple, effective one. And as I said, I get about 95% success, so you've got to be pretty unlucky for it not to work. And I've been doing this for about 23 years, so I teach it as well in New Zealand and Australia, so you've got the best person on your feet in New Zealand. So if you'd like to find out any more details about the foot joint mobilisation, you can ring me on 0272 49 50 90. So let's get into some interesting topics. So I also do other therapies as well, and one of them is called Orion Healing, and that's working on the soul and the spirit of the person. So it's sort of like going outside the squares, and we can get quite tangled in our lives, in our journey, and it gets a little bit confusing as to what's holding us back and why can't we move forward. And that's where the Orion Healing comes in, and I start to untangle what's been happening. And so with doing that, when the person comes in, I don't know them, I don't know what's happened in their life. They've had an amazing journey, and we have good things happening and we have bad things happening, and it's the impact of those, what we can class as negative, how they've impacted us, how they've pulled us down. Are we still holding on to it, or is it something else that's going on? And sometimes that can get quite confusing, and we start to wonder if there's something going on in our genes. You know, is there something going on in my mum's path or my father's path, and it's holding me back? You know, we do have traits. We have our gene pool. We have our traits that we do get from our parents, and some of them are good and some of them are not what we want, but we just still end up doing those sort of things. It's like, oh, I'm becoming like my mum, or I'm becoming like my dad, and some we do like and some we just don't. So there are things that are passed on to us, and so sometimes it's like, oh, is there something I'm doing the same kind of thing as my father? What have I picked up from him, or what's been carried through? So those are the sort of things that I'm looking at with the Orion Healing. And also sometimes it can be going back into a past life, and whether you believe in it or not, there is mysteries in the world that we can't actually see or understand. And you know, some of the stuff that I do, I can't explain it. I can't even teach somebody else how to do it because I don't understand the process myself. Some of the things I understand and how I do things, but other things, it's just like a miracle that I don't have the understanding of how I can flip through into a past life, into something that could have been 150 years, that happened 150 years ago, and see it like it's a movie. How am I able to get in there and actually see that recording, see that video, and then be able to explain to the person, this is what I'm seeing. this is what I saw that happened in a past life. How are you feeling about that? And so it really is going outside of the square. And for people like myself, it's usually quite scary talking about it in the open, because we have been burnt at stakes, we've been burnt alive, we've been buried alive, we've been stoned to death, we've been crucified, we've been all sorts of manner of things have happened over the thousands of years, because some people don't understand what it is that we're doing or what we're seeing or where we're getting our information from. And so when you don't understand the thing, then fear starts to come in, and then they want to destroy or get rid of, because that's easier than trying to actually understand it or work it out, or jealousy comes into play as well over the thousands of years. Or they want to control the actual people, and they don't want you to be healed. So there's lots of reasons why people like myself keep quiet, and we don't really talk about these things out in the open. And I thought, no, I should be talking to you and explain what I do so you understand a little bit more. And it's not scary, but people do come in and they're a bit nervous, they're a bit anxious of what I'm going to see and what's going to happen, and because it's the unknown, and there's a natural feeling to be a bit nervous about what is going to be seen, because we think that's kind of like a judgment on ourselves, and nobody likes to be judged. And so I thought, well, sometimes it's better to explain things so that the person can relax. And so when the person comes in for an Orion healing, and we're looking at an hour and a half's treatment, and I haven't met the person, they haven't met me, and so I'll sit them down and they fill in a little form, and I'll explain to them, now the first time I do an Orion healing on you, I do what I call the groundwork. And so the first part of that is soul fragment work, and that's when part of our life we've left something behind. So maybe someone has died that's been close to you or passed on, and we're finding it hard to get going again or to get our life back into order again. And quite often a part of ourselves has been left behind. So it's that part that's being pulled, cleansed in God's light, and returned to you so you're whole and complete. Or it can be like relationships where we have a breakup in a marriage or a partnership, and we're finding it so hard to get going again and be able to, and we're dragging our feet, and we can't seem to get our energies back into gear again. And so it's like that as well. Part of us has been left behind, and so it's those parts that are being pulled and cleansed and brought back to you so you're whole and complete. So I also do it for animals and pets, because we get quite close to our animals, because they just love us unconditionally. They're so happy to see us. They don't care what we've done, what we've said, what we've done wrong. They're just happy to see us. So get quite close to animals because they just keep loving us. And I also do it as a general for your whole life, and I also do it for school days, because we can get bullies and we can get bad teachers, and school days can be quite miserable for some people, and it has quite an impact on us moving forward into our adult life. So that's the first thing that I do, is the soul fragment work, and make sure that you're whole and complete. And then I move to the next area, which is checking to see if there's any psychic hooks in you. Now this can be from people who have negative thought forms towards you. Now we've all done this at times in our lives. We've not liked somebody, or they've been mean to me, or their behaviour has really triggered something in us, and we just think about it and we go, I really didn't like the way they talked to me, they shouldn't have said this, why did they do that? And we roll around in our head, and if it's just for a couple of hours, that's fine. It's not going to have an effect on the other person. But if you keep doing this for day after day after day, and you don't like the person, and I hope I don't have to see them again, and why did they have to be so mean? And if you just keep rolling around with these thoughts in your head, you can create what we call hooks into the other person. And the other person can have an effect. It can have an effect on them. It can give them headaches. It can trip them up. They can just feel like they've got the flu. They can have aches and pains. Everyone is different. And so that's the part that I'm looking for, is if there's any hooks in you from other people. Now, these people, like I said, can have bad thought forms towards you. They might be angry at you. They might be jealous of you. They could be envious of you. But if they keep going round and round in their heads, it creates hooks, and that's what I'm looking for. So if I see something, and it can be anywhere in the body, it could be attached to the soul, it could be attached to the aura, it could be in the neck, it could be in the heart if it's someone that's close to you, it could be around the ears, eyes, it can be anywhere. There's different combinations. So that's what I'm looking for, and if I see something, then I tell the person about it. This is what I'm seeing, this is how long it's been in the body or been in this area, this is what the energy is related to. And then it's that person's choice whether they want it gone, so they can keep it, ditch it, or ask more questions, okay? And I don't get names, I don't ask for names, because I don't want that person to go home thinking about that person negatively for the next 24 hours, because then that's going to put a hook in the other person. So usually the person knows where it's come from, but we sort of leave it there because we don't want to create more problems, do we? We're trying to get rid of problems. So I scan the system and see if there's hooks. So there could be 1, 2, there could be 100. We have all sorts of combinations. There mightn't even be any hooks in you at all. And so then I just move to the next thing. And I check to make sure there's no psychic attacks going on, and that can be the more nastier stuff, and that's not usual. Unless you've had real severe things going on over the years. And then I actually scan the system and see if there's anything attached to the person that shouldn't be there. So now we're getting into the more sort of serious, outside the square sort of thing. And so I'm looking for like entities, waywards, spirits, creatures. So things that can be attached to the person that shouldn't really be there, and they're having an effect. So again, if I see anything, I tell the person, and they can have their choice whether they want to keep it, ditch it, or ask more questions. Okay, so the person on the table is always in control. Just because I see things, it doesn't mean I go and clear it. I need their permission to actually clear it, because we all have a free will. It's a choice, and sometimes things will serve the person, or it's a neutral thing that's happening. And so it doesn't matter whether it stays or it goes. It's not going to make any difference. But then there's other things that actually are having an impact. And so we can discuss it, or I can tell them, or I can look further if they want more details, how long it's been there, how come it attached to the person. You know, and every story is different with that as well. You know, sometimes you're just at the wrong place at the wrong time. Sometimes they've been at parties and they've drunk too much, and so they've lost their protection and something has attached. Or there's drugs involved, and you know, you lose a lot of protection and you're not really with it, and you're at the wrong place at the wrong time, and something attaches to you. So it is a kind of a weird kind of thing you're looking at or thinking about outside that square. And so we don't, I guess society doesn't like to think that there's things out there that could harm us that way. But we know it probably is there, but hopefully it happens to somebody else and not me. But you know, doing the normal things of protecting yourself and not being places where you shouldn't be, and not going overboard with the alcohol and the drugs, then you know you're doing half of the battle. And the other thing is actually just letting go of all your emotions, you know, not holding on to resentment, not holding on to bitterness, because that's where you can pick things up as well. You know, sometimes I'll say to the person, look, you were at the wrong place at the wrong time, but you were carrying that energy. And so say you had a big argument and you're so angry and you're so peeved off, and you're holding that all day. It's going round in your mind and running around in circles, and you're just full of that. You just want to yell at somebody and you're walking down the street, or you're in the supermarket, wherever, and there's an entity that's attached to somebody else, and maybe that person has forgiven somebody and they're no longer angry, and this entity goes, I'm not getting anywhere with this person, I'm not getting any energy from the person, and they see you and you're lit up. You might be bright red because you're so angry. You're lit up with all this anger and frustration, and they go, oh, you're just like me. Whoom. And they attach to you and they start feeding off you. And then as you settle down and you relax, they'll kind of like poke you. Go on, you're peeved off. Go on, you're angry. Look at that. Aren't you annoyed at that? They're kind of like that little voice on your shoulder, you know, and you're like, well, hang on, I wasn't angry before. Why am I peeved? Oh, I better watch my words. Peeved off with that. And you get angrier and angrier, and over the next few months you go, why am I so angry all the time? You know, this isn't like me. Why am I doing this? And that's where sometimes, not always, sometimes something's come in that shouldn't have. And it's like poking you. So that's sort of looking at the entities and waywards and spirits and creatures. And some of them they don't do harm, but a lot of them do harm. And a lot of them aren't nice. And they are pushing those negative things into you, and come on, oh, you're no good, you're useless, come on, you can't do that, you can't achieve, why are you even bothering, you know? And then you just sort of get halfway through a project, or you get halfway through something during the day, and you just go on a downer, and you hear all those negative voices, and then you're like, yeah, I am useless, I can't even do that. And like before you know it, you're not happy at all, and your day hasn't been very good, and then you've got to start again the next day, and so forth. So I ask the person, you know, I say to them, look, this is what I'm seeing, and they go, that makes sense, now I understand, oh, that's why I'm struggling so much, that's why I can't get rid of this, or I can't seem to change this in my life. They always understand. The people, no matter how strange a thing it is that I'm saying, they get it. They understand. You know, if I'd said it to some other person on the street, they'd want to put me in a straitjacket and send me away and probably medicate me for years. But saying it to the person that has it, they go, oh my gosh. And it's like that moment of ching, it all just makes sense. And then it's like, do you want it gone? It's like, that's their choice, yes, no, whatever it is, and I'm cool with that, whatever they would like to, you know. Sometimes things serve them, and or it's a neutral thing, it doesn't matter whether it stays or goes, it's their choice. Or some people will go, no, I don't want it to be gone yet, and it's like, that's cool, you know what's happening, and so when you're ready, come back and we can clear it. Or you can try and clear it yourself later on. And so it is a free will, and you can, you know, it's no use pretending and going, oh yeah, that should be gone, when you actually don't want it gone, because if I remove it, it'll just come back the next day, because you haven't really been truthful, you're just doing it to please somebody else. So it pays to, you know, say the truth and say how you feel about something. And so once I've done that, and there might be nothing attached to the person, or there could be a few things attached, and then the next thing I do is I scan the system and see if there's any curses, oaths or vows around the person. Sometimes there's something going on, sometimes there's nothing. You just don't know until we go in and have a look. And then once I've finished with all of those things, and then I know that I'm dealing with the person and not any hangers-on that could be influencing their direction or path. And then I'll say to them, now, is there anything else you want me to look at or address while you're here? And because most people have some idea or some struggle in their life that they want to come for and get checked or looked at or changed or altered. And then when we've finished all of that, then the last part, which is really cool, we do the chakras. I balance all the chakras and allow the energies flowing to their optimum level. And then I ask God to fill the person with His unconditional love as much as the person can handle in their physical and spiritual bodies. And that energy is just so lovely. you can feel the atmosphere change in the room, and it feels like cotton wool. Well, that's how I describe it. It feels so soft and light and fluffy, I suppose. But it's a lovely feeling. And then I asked for 3 more angels to be assigned to you over the next few weeks to help with the healing and protection. And so I get lots of people asking me questions, and what do you see? What are you seeing? And, I never know until I go in, because everyone is different. I may see like a video. It's like watching TV, and you can see it all happening, and it can be going quite fast, but you get the idea of what's happening, and you're able to explain to the person. Sometimes I get the effects in my body, and I can feel the pain or feel an area of the body where the person's experiencing problems, and I can feel it in my body. Not so much fun. Or I can see it in their body, or I'm able to go in and view their body and have a look and see where the issue is, and then track it. Quite often I'm tracking things, and it's or sometimes I just get told what's going on. Sometimes God's just telling me, this is what's happening, Maree, because what I do is I say my prayers at the beginning, which are done in silence, and the person can they're lying on the table, and I have my hands on their shoulders, and I'll say to them, now I'm going to what they call theta state to say the prayers. They're done in silence. You can have your eyes open, you can have your eyes closed, you can be thinking about what you're going to cook for tea tonight. Okay, just as long as I'm focused on what I'm doing. And so I start saying my prayers, and I ask for a miracle. I ask God for a miracle for this person. This person's come in, and they want their life to change. They want it to be better. They want to unknot their life and start moving forward again. Something stopping them from moving forward, from progressing. And it's all a bit complicated. They're not sure if it's this, that, or the other thing. And I don't know the person. I don't know what's been happening with them. I don't know what they've been through. So then I ask God, I ask on behalf of you that, God, this person has come in, they've asked for a miracle. I ask for a miracle for this person, and God, please help me and to understand what the person's been through and what we need to heal, what needs to be corrected. Please show me what's happening for this person. And then I thank him for the miracle. Before I even start, I thank him for the miracle. And then I come back and I ask for the person's higher consciousness to come up with me to theta, and so that they are relaxed and calm. And then I ask God to show me the hooks, or show me what's happening, or tell me. So that's where sometimes I'll see, or I'll feel, or I get shown, or I just get told. And so I have a very strong connection with God. It's always been there. Ever since I can remember, my thought patterns have always been with God. It's just always been in my space, I guess. I've never had to question it or doubt it. It's always been there. I've always talked to God. I've always talked to the angels. They've always been around. I thought it was kind of normal. And I used to see the auras around people and around the trees and the animals, and you could see that aura around everything. And I thought everybody could see that, till I found out they couldn't. And then I thought I was a bit crazy, so I sort of stopped myself from seeing these things. I used to astral travel a lot. As a kid, I'd just take off, and it was always on my school report, Maree, you're always daydreaming. Maree's always daydreaming. I wasn't daydreaming, I was astral traveling. I was off, and it was fun, but not so good in the class and the lessons, because all of a sudden your astral body clonks back into your body, and you look at the teacher and you go, oh my gosh, I don't know what the teacher said. I have no idea what he's been talking or she's been talking about. So not so good for school. But if someone had got me and said, look, Maree, this is what you're doing, you need to stay in your body and be present. So there was lots of different things going on as I grew up. And then I've been able to expand on these things and ask God to help me see things so I can help people more, so that they can become whole and complete, and that they are able to move on with their life. And they have maybe some answers. Sometimes you need answers as to why you're feeling this way. Where has it come from? I could talk for days on all the different things that have happened over the last, I've been doing this for people for probably 17 years now. So maybe I will write a book, because it goes back into past lives and it goes back through the gene pool. Something happened 4 generations ago that affected that line. And so it's all very interesting, and everybody is different. There is no 2 people the same. There's so many different combinations. So that's the Orion healing. So as I said, that's about an hour and a half. And if you would like to give me a ring and make an appointment, my number is 0272 49 50 90. So I'm in Hastings on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday in the Last Palms building, and in Waipakarau I'm there on Mondays and Fridays. So thank you for joining me today, and you have a great day. See you next time.